our witnesses. What an important hearing, and my colleagues have asked a lot of good questions that I was thinking about asking, but I decided I'd like to just take my time to speak to any young person that's watching this hearing here in the room or watching it live or maybe watching it streamed. Young people feeling depressed about the future of the world, feeling hopeless, has many causes, but to some degree, you probably feel that way because you think adults have let you down. Climate change, gun violence, a couple people were killed in my hometown at a high school graduation the other day. Both my kids graduated from that building. My wife and I both spoken in that building. That's where we do all the graduations in Richmond. So I think young people's part of this sense of hopelessness is this feeling that adults have let us down, whether it's on climate or guns or political polarization or kids getting kicked around by adults for political purposes if they're marginalized. I look in my own life, I have a Social Security card now, but I look in my own life can I even remember what it was like to be a 5 to 18-year-old? And I want to tell you, I had the same feeling when I was 5 to 18, that the adults in the world were letting us down. I came home from kindergarten in November of 1963. I saw my mother crying for the first time in front of the television because JFK had been assassinated. I picked up the newspaper in April of 1968 and the news of MLK being assassinated, and then in June of 68, RFK being assassinated. You saw protests about the Vietnam War. You saw protests about civil rights issues. I was 16 when a president was forced to resign because of corruption. So my formative life from 5 to 16 was a time of chaos. War, nuclear weapons drills in the classroom. It was a time of chaos, and there was a palpable feeling that I had and that a lot of my friends had that the adults in the world were letting us down. And that was a creator of confusion and anxiety and even depression. We weren't so open about talking about mental health and mental health stresses then, but I could just remember that feeling. But what I want to say to young people watching, and Dr. Murthy, your focus on loneliness and isolation really gets at something really important. Young people have the power. Young people have the power to change the reality if you link arms and band together, and to reduce some of the things that might make you feel hopeless or depressed right now. Because in all of that confusion, I saw young people a little older than me. I wasn't in the age, but I saw young people protesting against the war and helping lead to its end. I saw young people in the civil rights movement helping battle to get voting rights done and civil rights laws passed. I saw young people who were now eligible to vote at age 18 becoming deeply engaged in events that led to improvements, that led to a Congress willing to hold a president accountable for impeachable behavior, forcing his resignation. And so the lesson that I learned from 5 to 16 was, yeah, adults were screwing a lot of things up. And if we waited for adults to solve those things, we would wait for a very long time. But when the young high schoolers and college kids that I was looking up to as a younger person linked arms and said, well, we're not going to just wait for adults to fix it. We're going to get engaged. When young people do that, young people change the direction of the country. And so I guess what I would just like to say to any young person watching this is you might not think you have the power to change the conditions that you find depressing. I think an awful lot of young, well, I'm not even old enough to vote yet, or what does one vote matter, or, you know, the system is rigged so that we don't matter. Our history shows the opposite. Things get worse when young people don't engage. Things get better when young people do engage. And not only do they get better in society, but the therapeutic value of linking arms with colleagues to battle for improvements in climate or reductions in gun violence, that very act of forming community among young people has a positive impact not only on society, but on one's sense of well-being. You have a purpose on the table right before you. And if you look at us and you think we're not responsive to you, you can link arms and you can change the world and feel a lot better about the world that you're living in. So with that, Mr. Chair, I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Kaine. Senator Cassidy.
Thanks.